Hi, I'm Bonnie Claire, and this is my channel Here for Lit, where we talk all about books. And I just wanted to first of all say thank you to everyone who so far has joined my channel. My last video was my very first one, so thank you to everyone who subscribed, liked, commented. I know a good chunk of it is my family, so hi mom, hi dad, siblings. Thank you for joining. We're about halfway through February, and I wanted to do a recap of the things I read in January. January was a bit of a different month for me because I was traveling, but I finished 3 books, and I feel like it shows you how I really read a variety of things. So one book was thriller mystery, one was sci-fi, and one was historical fiction. So let's go through each of them. The very first that I finished in January was The House Across the Lake by Riley Sager. I only discovered Riley Sager last summer, I think, from another booktube channel. Shout out to Best in Show Books. Their store is Naughty Dog Books. I really hit like a wall with my reading last year. I just was in a reading slump. They happen. And my cure for that tends to be trying to find something that's fast-paced that will just make you want to finish a book in a day. And so I'd been hearing a lot about Riley Sager and it kind of fit the bill for a thriller. And so last year I started reading all of them because I could find most of them at the library. And I decided, you know, he's a small enough canon that I would just read them all. And then I thought it'd be fun to rank them when I'm done. But another one's coming out this year, so that's going to be an ongoing thing. I've read everything but Final Girls, however many that is. But January, I finished The House Across the Lake. So this follows the story of a woman who has been through a tragedy and is living in a lake house. It follows the concept similar to the movie Rear Window by Alfred Hitchcock. So it's a woman who starts watching her neighbors across the lake, then gets very involved in the goings-on in their life. And I think it's okay to say it reminds me of Rear Window because they even kind of shout out that movie in the book. But the thing with Riley Sager, if you've read Riley Sager, is you get a twist, then you get another twist, and then like another twist on top of that. I mean, it is very twisty until the very, very end. Sometimes too twisty. That's how I felt about this book. So the thing with this book is they established from the beginning that this is probably an unreliable narrator. And I don't really enjoy a book when you just know that kind of the whole time. I like to have someone I can trust. So that took it down a notch for me where I just felt like, okay, you don't have anyone you can kind of trust. It's kind of fun when a book establishes someone who you think you can trust and they flip it on you. But from this one, it was just from the very beginning, you knew maybe not to trust everything. But something that Riley Sager will always deliver. You'll stay pretty engaged till the end. You want to know what happens. I feel like with most of my Riley Sager's ratings are very personal, right? But for me, they pretty much always hit a 3, which is good for me. It's not bad. It's just like, yep, satisfying, got what I wanted out of it. And then there's some where I'm like, whoa, that was even better than I expected, where then I'll bump it up. But for me, like, this was just like, yep, fast-paced book. I enjoyed it, but didn't blow my mind. But that was a fun way to kick off the year, a little thriller. The second book that I finished was Dune. I actually did this one through audiobook. I was traveling a lot, so I took advantage of that to be able to listen to this while on the plane. And then when I got far enough that I could watch the first movie, I watched the first movie on the plane. This was something that I really did want to see the movies, but I tend to want to do book first. To give you a little summary of the book, so it follows the story of Paul and his mother Jessica, and they have to use both cleverness and these powers that they have to navigate various challenges that they encounter, both dealing with the climate of this planet and sandworms, as well as different conflicts with different groups. When I first saw previews for this movie, I thought it really was the story of Paul, which eventually it is mostly about him. But for a good chunk of it, it's really about his mother too. And I was pleasantly surprised about that. I try to go into books knowing as little as possible. And I thought the audiobook was really well done. I think it was between book 2 and 3, really, I felt like there was a significant jump that kind of gave me a bit of whiplash. And then it ended suddenly. And to me, I thought, oh, Dune itself was self-contained. But this is me going in knowing very little. And so when it just ended suddenly, I was like, oh, I definitely need to keep reading. So I had asked around, and people generally said to read all the ones by Frank Herbert. And so that's my plan. And I did see I haven't watched the second movie yet, but I did see there will be a third. And that one follows the book Dune Messiah. So I definitely need to read that one. I do think that the Dune series is worth it. The atmosphere is amazing. There's hype for this book for a reason. There's a really great adventure. I was here for it. I liked the ride. And I look forward to reading more. So that's a pretty substantial book. So that took up most of my month. But I did mention in my last video that I am in a physical book group, and the book that we were discussing in February, so I finished it in January, was Salt to the Sea by Ruta Sepetys. This one is historical fiction, and it takes place during World War II. It follows a group of refugees that are making their way out of East Prussia to escape the Soviet soldiers that were making their way into Germany. So it's towards the end of World War II. And the main characters that it follows are this kind of hodgepodge group of refugees that have come together. One is a Polish native, one is a Lithuanian nurse, one is what they call the shoe poet. I love him. There is a German soldier and also a German sailor. So this also is the story about the Wilhelm Gustloff, which was a ship. And I didn't know anything about this before I read this book. And of course, then it made me want to learn about it after. But this was one of, if not the, I don't know, I don't want to be definitive here, but this was one of the greatest maritime disasters in history. There were more casualties than there were on the Titanic, which of course the Titanic is probably the most famous. And so my understanding about it is that a lot of this information was actually withheld because they didn't want to reveal like that they might be losing the war at that point. That I do appreciate historical fiction for sometimes really bringing a lot of attention to something that was maybe kind of brushed aside before that was, significant to history. So I've read, I think, just 2 books by Ruta Sepetys, but I have a bunch on my list. My parents have recommended a few and friends have recommended a few. She's probably become one of my favorite historical fiction authors. Just what she can do with characters, just showing how complicated people are. Like, yes, she tells the story so well, and she tells it through characters that you love and hate and everything. But she also brings in this artistry. There's a character known as the shoe poet through the majority of the story. And something that Sepetys did through him was tell the story of someone based on what kind of shoes they had, how worn they were. And I just thought, what a perspective to use shoes to tell someone's story. And so that was kind of the role of the shoe poet, was how he could kind of assess who someone was, where they might be coming from based on their shoes. And I just thought that was an amazing perspective and really just artistic. And it's those little kind of details that I just think make Sepetys such a wonderful author. But if you have interest in World War II history, historical fiction, definitely give that one a try. So that is everything that I read in January. I hope that gives you a good idea of how I'm really a genre hopper. And I'll be back with hopefully weekly videos. I still haven't quite established my schedule. I'm so new to all this. But I hope you'll comment, like, subscribe. I would love to continue the dialogue. I want to hear what people love. I'm always looking for recommendations. I will try just about anything. I never feel obligated to finish anything if I really hate it, but I don't hate a lot of books. So I'm excited to continue this conversation, and until the next video, I will see you whenever. Bye.